This video is going to be going through our core values and what they specifically mean to me and how I can come up with all these beautiful quotes that you'll see before you. So the first core value is vision first. And the reality behind vision first is it's really being proactive versus being reactive. And the bigger piece of that is just planning before you execute. So life isn't what happens to me, it's life is what I make happen. And this is synergistic with the own it core value as well, but really planning before you do something creates a strategy for success rather than just hoping for success and just hoping things get done. I love this quote is being proactive means being reactive ahead of time, meaning that anybody that likes to live their life reactively, and it's not reacting, it's responding, which means that you have time, you have effort, you're thinking about how you're going to plan out either a conversation, a planning out a project, planning out even a business plan, or making sure that you have clarity around all those pieces. Abraham Lincoln famously said, if I had 5 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend 3 hours sharpening the axe, or 4 hours sharpening the axe, right? And then the last hour cutting it down. That's called being proactive. Another guy that I love, his name is Stephen Covey, and he is the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. His number one habit, again, being proactive. And ironically, the rest of his are almost exactly what our core values are. And we'll get into those in a second here. But the second item we have here, and you'll see it was over here, seek first, number 5, seek first to understand and then be understood. So that's my biggest quote here. So intentional and authentic communication. So seek first to understand and then to be understood. What most people think communication is they think it's one-sided. They think that they're communicating to others. But in fact, communication is two-sided, right? You're being communicated to, which actually takes the most work. Because when you're communicating to somebody else, you already know what you're thinking and what you're doing. When you're being communicated to, you actually have to do all the work to figure out, okay, well, what is that person trying to say to me? And there are techniques like mirroring, active listening techniques, and other items that we'll be talking about later in the how feature. But again, communication is very two-sided. There are two parts to the intentional authentic communication. So intentional is an action performed with awareness, done deliberately, consciously, and on purpose. Meaning intentional communication is deliberate communication. This isn't an emotional thing where you're just off the cuff calling somebody and just giving them, taking your day out on them, right? You're very intentional in how you plan this out. And again, proactive communication, making sure you thought about this beforehand. And even if it isn't proactive, you're making sure that you're taking care of the other piece, which is authentic. So not false or imitations. You're not trying to talk to somebody, well, true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. So you're not trying to talk to somebody in a way that you have an agenda. You're trying to talk to them in a way that you feel authentic. And talking to somebody in a way that you have an agenda means that you're using techniques like NLP or suggestive language, or there's a lot of psychology behind effective communication that we want authentic communication. They're very, very different. So my favorite quote of all time around communication is the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And this is massive, right? So two people send an email that says, hey, I need this done better. Better to somebody means totally different things, right? That's terrible communication because one side's like, oh, I know what that means. It means I got to do this, this, and this. But the person who communicated it means, oh, it means something, 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 right? So that's the worst situation you could possibly be in, is not getting clarity around the communication. And there are tools like mirroring, like, oh, okay, from my understanding, this is what I think that I should be doing. Is that correct? Right? And we'll be going through mirroring on videos in the future. But again, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it's taken place. Another great quote is communication leads to community. So the biggest piece that we're working on, and we changed this from our last core value to this one, is that this is more community-based, right? So we're trying to build something that has clarity, that's, that really builds our community better. If everybody's communicating more effectively, and like the leadership team is communicating more effectively to the rest of the team, everything gets done better. Everybody needs to understand the why, like in the last video that I explained. So communication leads to community. That is to understand intimacy and mutual valuing. So it really leads to more of a culture. Our third core value is synergy. and my favorite quote from our wedding was, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." Another quote from Stephen Covey, which is on his 7 highly effective habits, is synergy is better than my way or your way. It's our way. Meaning that there are a lot of different people with a lot of different skills, especially on our team or in general. But what you'll notice is having a bunch of skills, a bunch of hard skills, has nothing on a network, right? If you have a network of people that can help you solve things more effectively, you're not spending 8, 12, 10,000 hours mastering a process. You can connect to somebody who's already done that. It's much more efficient to delegate that piece of it rather than to try to learn it yourself. And hard skills are tricky that way, in which you think, yeah, learning more about, getting deeper into design is a great idea for a project manager. But in reality, knowing just enough design to know who to delegate it to is a much more efficient path. And then we have designers who are specifically there to learn more about design. So synergy is just, it's better than my way or your way. It's our way. And then my favorite, Richard Branson, is build your own business team. Survival in business requires a synergy of skills. So again, this is just kind of making sure that everybody stays within their unique strengths. And if you have a bunch of people with unique strengths, you can literally leverage those. Everybody's a lot more happy than learning things they don't really care about. Number 4 is innovation. Innovation is a tricky one. And our Dima's hero, Steve Jobs, who was literally the best innovator in the world, empirically the best innovator in the world, or had the best skill set in innovation, the best soft skill set at innovation, is his quote was, innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. In reality, innovation is a lot of different things, which we'll touch on in a second here, but innovation is making game-changing decisions, not just making different decisions. So the big thing that Albert Einstein made a quote about was, we cannot solve a problem by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. And this is more around consciousness and creating a different type of consciousness that you need to create to solve a problem. So you're not just trying to solve the problem that you created. You're trying to identify the issue that solved or that created that problem and then solve that problem. And that goes into the definition here of innovation can be defined simply as a new idea, device, or method. However, innovation is often viewed as the application of better solutions that meet new requirements, unarticulated needs, or existing market needs. So what this is basically trying to find, and Steve Jobs was a master at this piece, is not just solving the problem that everybody's describing to him, it's solving the problem of the problem that then creates it. And the famous quote from Henry Ford is, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? So innovation really leads to what's the problem? What's the actual problem, not what's the problem people are describing, and then let's solve that piece. And innovation in Vision Tech Team and Influex is a big piece of what we do and kind of how we dynamically change from where we're going. And our innovation piece is our data-driven design. And the more that we implement our data-driven design, the more that we can move the company forward exponentially. So number 5 is own it. And this is one of my personal favorite ones. I hate people who have, and I don't respect people who have a victim mindset. I don't think that they're set up for success. So in reality, take responsibility for your life and take control of your life. Meaning that if you're not taking responsibility for every single thing in your life, you actually can't do anything about it. So if the power goes out and you don't take responsibility for that and you delegate that and you say, oh, the government shut down my power, there's nothing I can do about it, that means you're not taking control. In reality, the conversation should be around, oh shit, the power went out. I should have bought a generator. I should have done this. I should have done that. And that way you can own it. You can solve a problem if you take specific ownership. If you delegate the responsibility to somebody else, you can't control somebody else. So you can't do anything about it. And one of my favorite heroes in regards to extreme ownership is Jocko Willink. And he's a very famous Navy SEAL. And he wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. Heavily suggest everybody reads it. But his piece is, the best leaders don't just take responsibility for their job. They take extreme ownership of everything that impacts their mission, which means every single piece of everything that you're trying to do, you need to take ownership of. Anybody who delegates the responsibility of their life to somebody else is either going to end up in prison or somewhere where they really, really don't want to be. If you really think that you are not in control of your life or in control of everything, that's a very, very non-safe place to be, and it really doesn't help you solve your own problems. there's another quote by Jocko, which is, there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. It's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. And again, the ownership of taking responsibility for the results, and everybody ultimately has to take responsibility for the results, and it's kind of what you tolerate, right? And so saying, okay, well, I'm taking ownership of these results. I don't think this is right, but management or leadership said that this is fine. That's not true, right? If you don't take ownership of, no, this looks like shit, I'm not going to put my name on this, that's taking ownership. And really, that's also managing up. So that's a huge culture piece that we want to make sure is embedded here. Then number 6 is our core value of never stop growing. The big clarification on never stop growing is a lot of people just think that this is strategically around mind learning, right? So learning different skills, soft skills and hard skills, but it isn't. There's really, it's self-learning, right? You need to learn more, or growing yourself. So it's really growing your mind, growing your body, and growing in spirituality. So the mind is an easy one to describe. I think a lot of people understand this piece. And you can do things that are clarity exercises to help your mind and to help get clarity, like meditation and journaling. You can do strategic learning, which I heavily suggest everybody does, which is a quarterly plan of what you need to learn to get to where you need to be. And then a monthly plan around that quarterly plan, and a weekly plan around your monthly plan of a learning track that you hold yourself accountable to, making sure that you're learning in the correct way. And the mind is a massive piece of overall growth, because it really helps you get clarity on the mind and spiritual needs as well. But in reality, it isn't the only one, right? There's body, right? And a lot of people miss this step in growth because they don't really prioritize it, right? And you can say whatever you want, but if you misprioritize how you're growing your body, you are setting yourself up for failure. Meaning that you need to make sure that you are exercising correctly to take care of the only body that you have on this planet. You need to really be eating healthy so that you, again, can take care of that body and not have long-term problems. And then really be mindful of your health habits. So good health habits are amazing, right? Having a health habit of eating right, having a health habit of yoga, meditation, of exercising, of running, of doing a lot of the healthy things are great, but also be mindful of the unhealthy habits, right? Nicotine, alcohol. I mean, there's a lot of bad habits that you can create that really, really put a distress in your body. And one of the most underutilized growth tools is around the spiritual growth. And I'm not going to get too deep into this one because everybody has their own spiritual path that they want to lead down. But ultimately, it's making sure that you prioritize your spiritual growth as well as your mind and your body. And ultimately, this leads you towards your bigger purpose. And this leads you towards really your purpose in your why, your personal why, not the company's why. And if you don't have your own personal why of what you're doing and how you're showing up, you really don't have, you're really wandering and you're not really growing in yourself, and you don't really have a clear path. So heavily suggest everybody works on their spiritual path as well as their mind and their body. And the last one, and one that we just added, was self-full service. And what self-full service is, essentially it's selfless service. And selfless service is a service which is performed without any expectation or result or reward for performing it. Such services can be performed to benefit other human beings or society. So the net of all of these pieces are, which ones are more successful overall, givers or takers? And there's a famous book called Givers and Takers, which goes through all of the empirical knowledge, statistical knowledge of which ones are more successful overall, givers or takers. And in reality, it's both. Givers are at the top 25% and they're at the bottom 25% of empirical happiness. And the reason is really making sure that you're giving synergistically. And I think that that's one of the biggest pieces missing on selfless service that most people don't understand, is you really need to give synergistically, meaning that you need to give in a way that helps both sides out. So you're not, so a great prime example of this is giving 15 minutes of your time to help consult is synergistic. You're giving 15 minutes of your time, which is sustainable, to help somebody out that could help them exponentially, right? Now, taking over a project for somebody else because they asked you, hey, I need help with this, that's non-synergistic. That's taking up a ton of your time. Now, unless that falls under your roles and responsibilities, or I guess in a personal life, if this falls under your bigger purpose and you want to take this over, then that's synergistic. But most of the time, taking over a project from somebody else isn't. Giving 15 minutes of your time to consult is. And the big part here is just make sure that you're doing prioritized giving, and make sure that you're in a place to give, right? So working 20 per hours a day is not selfless service. What it means is that you're basically not setting yourself up for success. You're taking out your growth habits of, mind, body, spirit, to be able to work on one thing, which isn't really setting you up for success to help others out. Most of the time when people are working 20 plus hours per day, or I guess, let's say more than 8 hours a day, is because they have a hard time saying no. And in order to say no, you really need to understand your bigger purpose. And once you have your bigger purpose, you can be very clear on, nope, that isn't in alignment with what I need, or yes, but I can do this piece of it. And the second one, like helping out a fellow team member when you don't have time, is not selfless service, right? And that's one that a lot of people think, oh yes, I want to be a great giver. But in reality, if you don't have the time, or if you don't have the energy to be able to help them out, you're impacting your own life as well. And there either needs to be a solution. So either solving that with, okay, pointing that out to somebody else and saying, hey, we need another person here. We don't have enough team members, or, solving this through a process, or solving it through something else. But essentially helping somebody else out when you don't have the time to do it really doesn't serve anybody very well. And especially the last one, giving up your daily health habits in order to help others, is not selfless service, right? And this happens to all of us. And the fact that, oh man, I just don't have time to work out today, or I really don't have time to do lunch the right way, I'm just going to hit McDonald's, or, I'm going to eat really, really unhealthy. That isn't the way to show up. That isn't a very long-term way to show up with selfless service. Anyway, guys, this is the core values of Vision Tech Team and Influex. I'll have some more videos coming soon. Thank you guys so much.